Welcome back to Life and Style. Remember, we're all about relationships today. We call it Relationship Wednesdays. And we just had a very, very interesting conversation on Mandate that was about Ines Sako. Now, did it change your mind? Would you consider having one? Remember to keep this conversation going on our social media platforms, KTN Life and Style on Facebook, KTN Life _ Style on Twitter and Instagram. SMS is 22840. Now, we are all about forgiveness right now on Nisame. Pastor Chris, niambie wageni wetu wakina nani leo?
Well, today we have quite a unique story.
Yes.
We've got Francis, and he's here with his wife, Mercy. Francis was a young man just living his life, going on, loving sports and preaching the gospel, sharing that. Then he decided to settle down with his long-term girlfriend. Then somewhere along the line, a condition came in, and that's what they're going to talk about today on Nisamehe.
All right.
All right, so we have with us Francis Gishuru together with his wife, Mercy. Welcome to Nisamehe on Relationship Wednesday Life and Style.
Thank you for having us here.
All right, Francis, tell us about yourself.
Okay, my name is Reverend Francis Gishuru.
Okay.
I am a preacher of the good news
All right.
in Christ Ambassadors Tabernacle. And we are based in Molem, around Kangudo Road here in Nairobi, the eastern parts of Nairobi. That's where we are doing the work of God.
Okay.
And I've been there for the last 7 years now. We are 9 years as a ministry and 5 years as a church, based in that area of Molem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But you were growing up as a young and healthy person,
Exactly.
a lover of sports,
Yes,
and of preaching the gospel.
exactly.
Would you just tell us about how you were growing up?
Okay, I grew up very well. My parents were people who used to take care of their children very well. My father was working in Nairobi in one of the petroleum companies, and we were here in Nairobi. That is about 50 years ago. And right alone, we settled in up country where my parents come from, in Nyeri, Karatina area specifically.
Okay.
And I was very active as I was growing up. Throughout my primary school, secondary school, my A-levels, those days used to go to A-levels. Then I went to Extramural Institute within Nairobi University. And then later on, I went to work in insurance companies here in the city. And I was very active, very aggressive. In fact, where I was working in the insurance company, my records have never been broken by anyone. And I left many years ago. So I was very aggressive, very active, and still at the same time where I was involved in church, I was the youth leader, and I was given up to also missions work in that church. So I was doing my work very well till the day when I came to marry my wife.
right.
And I must say that
How long ago is that you got married?
that's about 17 years ago, sir.
17 years.
17. We did our wedding in the year 2000 in our mother church, Nairobi Calvary Temple, here in Buruburu, Phase 1.
All right.
And they loved me. Even today, they still love me, though I'm not there, because the work I did there was good.
Okay.
Yes, I was aggressive, as you said, even in sports. I used to live just near there. I used to jog from Uhuru all the way Buruburu Yote, or up to Phase 5, then back home. So I was very aggressive and very active.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So you got married 17 years ago
Yes,
to Mercy, and you had been relating for quite a while.
exactly.
How long did you date or court?
Okay. My story is very, very unique with Mercy here, because Mercy, where I was living in, where my grandmother used to live here in Nairobi, their father had a kiosk there. So we used to go and buy milk, bread there. So we grew up in the same environment. And it happened that I came to know the Lord before Mercy.
Okay.
So I used to come from up country because I was based in an up country station. My workplace was up country. When I used to come, so I could visit them. So now I'm born again. I come and preach to them. They were not born again then. In their family, there was nobody who was born again. So I could come and tell Mercy, you need to know the Lord Jesus, and even the sister. But I remember them telling me, Francis, we can't get saved. What are we missing in life? We cannot. But me, I went back to my prayers and I started praying for them with a sister. And a few years later, Mercy came to know the Lord. So I came to know the Lord before Mercy by 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is from there she went glowing in the Lord. I remember the person who prayed for her today. She's a bishop with a ministry in Nairobi.
All right.
And when I was coming from up country, I got Mercy. I got born again.
Okay.
So I encouraged them in the Lord. And 7 years down the line, she grew up very well spiritually. And then I came and approached her. That
And
time
she said yes.
Yes, she said yes.
All right, Mercy,
Yeah.
just tell us a bit about that period. You got born again to the point you're getting married to Francis. What attracted you to this man?
Okay. Francis, we grew together like he has said, and we had that family ties. And then we were like, liked each other, and we started like a relationship. But then when he went up country, he came and told me he's born again. And just
So the
as
relationship began before he
before
got
he
born
was
again.
born again. And we hadn't come to that point of saying about marriage or anything. We were just good friends. And he came and told me he's born again. I was like, what do I do with a man who is now born again? So I decided to go my way because I felt I was still young, energetic. I need to go to movies, discos and everything. And you know that is the time Nairobi cinema, Kenya cinema, Odeon were booming.
Okay.
So at that age, I felt I need to enjoy life. And now with a man who is saved, who is born again, he doesn't have those funds.
Yeah.
So in fact, I told him off. We were with my sister, and I told him, I can't walk with you anymore. So he left, and we like separated, but he would always come to Nairobi, come to our place, try to talk to us to Christ. But I was like, I still have a life to enjoy.
Okay.
So we stayed until one day, I met with God through a lady who is a good friend of mine. She just prayed for me and talked to me about Christ, and I got saved.
Okay.
So when he came back, I was like, oh, wow, I've gotten saved 7 years after him.
All right.
So after that, we stayed for a while, separated, not in relationship or in courtship. Then it's when he came back and we were like, why don't we start it once more?
All right.
And that is how it came to end up into marriage.
His heart was very fixed on you over the years.
Yeah, yeah.
That spans nearly a period of 10 years.
Yeah.
And then his mind was not shifting.
Yeah.
Well, so after you got married, somewhere along the line, you stumbled into a condition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stumbled into a very rare condition, but this one was detected by, very late in my ministry life, because there's a time I left the country and went to minister as a missionary in Botswana, in just here in South Africa, and I stayed there for about a year as a missionary, and when I came back, that was 2004. We stayed again for about 3 years, and that's when I got into this. We never knew what was happening. I was, ballooning and growing big. We didn't know what was happening, and until one time, my wife, I had gone to look for some emails, and after checking my emails, when I got into the house, my wife detected there was some wetness along my in the 2 places of my breasts.
Okay.
And then she asked me, what is happening? Can you remove your shirt? We check what is happening. And then she squeezed my breasts, and she found that my breasts were oozing milk. And by that time, my libido had gone down. We were not able to comprehend exactly what was the cause of it. And immediately we called a doctor friend of ours and asked him about it, and then he linked us up with some people in Kenyatta Hospital, and the journey to seek medical help started there. And
Just before you go on with that, I want to find Mercy.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Let me say, because in life I was very active, even in every area of my life. So when we got married with Francis, he was active and very energetic, outgoing and everything. But then it came a point and he started slowing down. Okay, now like he's ministering and he was leading the youth group in church, and then he was given missions. Most of the time he's on his Bible and praying. This time I didn't know that he had detected some weaknesses in his body. So every time he's reading and praying, and I'm like, let him have his time.
Okay.
So I related his not being energetic and active
To the
prayers
and
and
the study.
fasting and reading of the word. So I told myself, now because I agreed to get married to a man who is a man of God, I've got to give him his time and his space to do what he's supposed to do for the ministry, and then maybe we have my time also. So when he started going down, even his libido was not okay, I just thought it is because of prayer and fasting and
But what was it like the day that you saw the wetness?
the milk coming out.
Yes.
Yeah, that day, in fact, I was so shocked. I was so shocked because the shirts are wet. Then I told him to remove the shirt and the T-shirt is wet. And when we squeezed the breast, milk
was
is
milk
coming
coming.
out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never seen this. Even me myself right now, even if I squeeze my breast, they won't bring out
Bring
milk.
out milk.
So I was like, what is this? And I told him this is not normal. And because I was so shocked and I didn't know anything, I just took my phone and called the doctor.
All right.
And I asked him, because now I was like, what could this be? And the doctor I called, he was like, Mercy, I've never had such a thing. I have no idea what this is. And he told me, can you organize yourself tomorrow? I'll give you some contacts. Tomorrow, the first thing in the morning, go to Kenyatta.
Okay.
So the whole night, we didn't sleep. We were so disturbed because you don't know even how to speak about it. In fact, it also hit him so hard because he was like, what could this be? And he just went down and he was asking me the whole night, what can this be?
All right. You were affected by that information. What? And I know you asking questions, as Mercy is saying that you're asking, what could this be?
Yes.
But what thoughts came to your mind?
Diverse questions clopped up in my mind. And first of all, I was wondering, what is the cause of this? God, what is happening here? I'm your servant. What is causing this? You need to remove it. You need to do something about it. So I started thinking so many things, and you don't want to tell people what is happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as men of God, sometimes you can conceal a lot of information in order to avoid embarrassment. But because many people come to you with issues and they trust you. So first thing I asked God himself, God, what is happening with my life? So I went back to my wife and asked her, Mercy, could this be a curse? Could it be anything bad that is from family line or something like that? But with encouragement from scriptures and praying, we got a bit of relief. But it wasn't easy, Pastor Chris.
All right.
Yes.
So you started a journey seeking medical help.
Exactly.
All right. What were you told?
Finally went to Kenyatta 2 years. Down the line, nothing happened. Until one day I heard a lady of Asian origin speaking one of Christian radio stations, and she explained something that was similar to what I was going through. And so I asked for her contacts in the studio where she was, and then I said I would like to go and see her. Then immediately I went to see her at Mpisha Hospital, and when I entered into the consultation room, she said, "Are you the gentleman who called me?" "Yes." "Don't even tell me your case. When I look at you, I know what is happening."
All right.
She had told me, "Are you having severe headaches at night?" I told her, "I'm not sleeping." "Is your breast oozing milk?" "Yes." "Okay." "You don't have libido?" "Yes." "Okay." "You are fatigued and stressed?" "Yes." "And also you are easily angered?" I told her exactly. So she told me, You must do some tests. So she required me to do some tests, which I did. I brought the report back to her, and she told me I'm suffering from a rare disease recorded by World Health Organization called pleurocarcinoma. And that is the journey where we have started up to now, because it's a tumor in the pituitary gland,
Okay.
which causes all this.
All right.
Yes.
So how did that affect your lives as a family?
It has affected our lives so badly, both in the family level, social level, economically. It has affected us badly. First of all, let me start at the family level. At the family level, since the day we got married with Mercy, I have not been able to give her a child because this condition causes infertility.
Okay.
That's number one. Now, as a result of that, now the family members started attacking us. In fact, I remember, first of all, my family members, they started attacking her. She's barren. Throw her away. Get another girl to marry. I remember one time my family prevailed so much against me, such that I was even at the point of breaking down, because I love Mercy. Thank God, before we got married, she had a previous engagement where she had a son. Thank God for that son. And I tell you, they started telling me, this girl is not good to our family. So this really injured my spirit, injured my heart so much. But I said no. I stood by Mercy. I remember even when we got married, they didn't want me to marry Mercy because she had a child. And I said no. This is the one the Lord has led me to.
But how was it for Mercy?
Yeah.
When people began to know the condition of your husband, how was that for you in relation to your family or your friends or other people?
Yeah, it was a bit challenging and a bit tough, because I remember he spoke to, after a period, he confided into one of his friends and told him what he's going through, just confidentially. And then one day, that friend, I think he shared with another person. And one day the sister is traveling in a matatu, and he's sitting on the front seat next to the driver. And then the sister, the pastor is crossing the road. Now the driver is speaking to the sister, not knowing that she's the sister, and telling him, do you see that man walking there? And he is like, yeah. I told him, I just salute the wife, because I understand that man has no libido. He can't do anything in bed. But the wife is still intact, and they are living together. And the sister was like, what? That is my brother. And the driver was like, and you don't know that? And he was like, nobody has told us. So when the matatu stopped, the sister alighted, and he ran to the brother, and he was like, I understand you have this condition. And the brother was like, yes, I'm like so, and that is what I've been going through. And she was like, how have you confined this to yourself? And we have always been attacking Mercy and calling her all sort of names. And the sister broke down. So when he came to the house, he was like, Mercy, I shared my story with so-and-so, and he has blown it out. Imagine, even matatu drivers know about my condition, and they are pointing out at me, And I was like, because you are the one who told it, we had promised ourselves not to share with anybody at that point. Right. So I told him, because you are the one who has shared out, don't go and ask the person you shared with, just let it be.
All right.
So after that, people started knowing about it, more so the close families, because now he's decided to share. And that is when I came to see all sorts of things. Because everybody knowing that the way he is, because of the low libido, they would come and tell me, Mercy, at your age, you need this thing. You can't stay without sex. If he can't satisfy you, you have to look it outside. So I started getting like confused, because some men you see, men you respect, people of high social life, And I'm like, if this is a pastor, this is a bishop, and telling me to look for sex outside because my husband cannot satisfy me, what will I do? And they were like, even from the medical part of it, you can't live at this age without it.
Yeah.
And now here I started getting confused. I'm saved. I want to be faithful.
But you're under
But
pressure.
everybody is telling me to go out.
Okay.
Not even my sister-in-laws.
They were telling you that.
Everybody, even the mother, go out, have a man, have children, and bring them to the family.
How
So-
was that for, how was that for you, Francis? Your friend has betrayed you.
Yes.
Now the story is out over there.
Yeah.
People are looking at you. Did you feel a sense of embarrassment wherever you would go? Did you feel like there was too much spotlight on you?
Yes, it wasn't very good, because you share with somebody confidential information like this, and then he goes out there to share it with other people. And when I heard it, I told my wife, now it is out there in the public, it is inevitable. We cannot reverse anything. Ours is to move forward, to continue with life. I comforted myself and I said, because this is not my doing, I don't know where it came from, I'll forget about what people are saying and I'll move forward. My comfort, I'll draw it from God. Okay. Because these are not things you expect or you plan for in life. It's not like a project where you plan, you say you have timeline or you have these goals that you set. It's something that comes in somebody's life. And because the information has come out and you didn't want it to go there, there is nothing you can do to reverse that. So I decided, let me get focused because I need to move forward with life no matter what.
How was Mercy's family with you when they got to know what was happening to you?
Mercy's parents are very good parents, especially the late father. Although he used to complain, he used to call her, Mercy, you don't ever give us a glad son. But they didn't know that I am the problem until one day we had to disclose to them and we told them what was happening. In fact, they were very good to me and they told me that don't you worry, our son, things are going to be better. In fact, I never got attacked so much from my in-laws. But on my side, the family,
there was a lot of pressure.
That is where fire was coming from.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, did this condition affect your ministry because you're a public person?
Yes, it affected my ministry so much because when we decided to disclose this to the members, almost 3/4 of the church left us.
They did.
And they said that all the offerings will go to his medication. So they left us, they went. Even other men of God that are our friends, some of them start telling the members, how can you be preached to by a man of God who is ailing? He's going to release the same spirit of infirmity to you. So given those reasons, most of them left. But even those people who are close to me, men of God, not all, because there are some who even today stand with us, right. And I thank God for them. But several others were so bad to us. Okay. But I chose to forget about it and move forward. Whatever they were talking about, whatever they said, even some today, the others who have collected money to assist me, but they have never given me that money. Okay. But I have chosen to forget about it and forgive and go forward.
So you had, because of this condition, you had to deal with a lot of rejection?
Yes, rejection.
Betrayal sometimes.
Betrayal. All kind of suggestions. Slander.
Gossip. People talking a lot about you.
Exactly. They say even I'm cursed. I remember one time I appeared somewhere on the TV shows. People called me. They said, this is a curse. And it's a man of God telling you, this is a curse. So you need to come for deliverance. Others, they call me, they tell me, go to your family members and find out why this is happening. So there is so many things crop up.
But sitting here with you,
yes,
and even before we came to the set,
yes,
you have you've got positive energy around you.
Exactly.
You don't look like somebody who is bitter or angry.
Exactly.
you forgave the people who hurt you, rejected you.
Exactly. I have forgiven them all. Because I came to detect one thing. If I don't forgive them, I have put poison in my heart. So I decided to remove the poison out of my heart. What I did, I went to my knees and prayed. And I told God, help me to forgive them. It is not easy. You need the grace of God. Even today we meet with them. I am happy. Even members of family. Today they come to me with issues. People who, even some of them wanted to kill her. People who even wanted to see her out of my marriage, out of my life. Yeah. But I forgave them. Today we are moving on well, very, very well. I have no problem with them. Friends, others where I was working before, they abandoned me. But today we are good buddies. Okay. Even some who are supposed to help me. They have all the social networks that I would require at this particular time. But I told them, friends, we cannot be enemies because of this issue.
All right.
Yes.
And I know, talking about help, I know that you're seeking help.
Yes.
To get some treatment.
Yes.
Would you please just talk about that for those who would want to help you through in a minute?
Okay.
Because Mikali is right here with me already.
Okay. We are seeking for help. I need to raise 2.5 million for my treatment in India, for surgery in India. We have a pay bill number where friends can assist me. The pay bill number is 908701. Pay bill number once again is 908701. Or my M-Pesa number is 0722 675773. 0722 675773. Anybody can assist me through those numbers. And also we are having a fundraiser in Buruburu this coming Saturday.
All right.
Yes.
Mikali.
Yes, Pastor Chris.
I know what Nisamehe does to you.
I know. And, I've picked up one thing today.
Yes.
Like every other day, I pick up something that you can actually forgive and be friends with those people again.
Yes.
Most of the people forgive and just move on. Iliwasamea, lakini let's not be friends. I'm at peace with myself and with whatever happened between us. But now going back and becoming friends with them again, that's another step to take in life.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got to, sometimes you get to the place where you're thinking, they did what they did because of what they know or how they are. Yeah. Sometimes you try to rationalize their decisions.
Yeah.
And you cannot expect everybody to have your level of understanding.
True.
That's one of the things that would make forgiveness a bit easier. You're just thinking, it's like Jesus saying they don't know what they're doing.
Exactly.
So when you look at what people do, sometimes just think about it like, okay, that's where they are at. That's how they view it. They don't have the whole picture.
Yeah.
So they're making decisions based on how they see and how they view. It becomes a bit easier to just work on.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. It's been very, very inspiring. And remember, if you have a story to share, if you're looking for forgiveness, or if you've forgiven someone, you've gone through something that hurt you in a very, very big way, and you got over that, this is the platform for you. Get in touch with us. lifeandstyle@standardmedia.co.ke is the email address. Text us on our WhatsApp number 0700574747. Facebook, it's KTN Life and Style, KTN Life_Style on Twitter and Instagram. SMS is 22840. Let us know. And let's have this conversation going on our social media platforms. We will be right back after this short commercial break.
We have come to meet you. Yes.